His Excellency Mr. Pierre Jordan, Acting High Commissioner of the Republic of South Africa to Pakistan, distinguished guests and members of this chamber, good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome His Excellency and his team to Sialkot Chamber of Commerce. I am pleased to share that Sialkot Chamber remains committed to the government of Pakistan's Look Africa initiative and is an active advocate of exploring huge potential in the African markets. I believe that His Excellency's visit would help both sides to devise strategies for enhanced trading linkages. It is pertinent to mention that both Pakistan and South Africa are committed and making joint efforts towards the promotion of bilateral relations. As per the data available, the total trade between the two countries in fiscal year 2025 was just $647 million. Indeed, there is a huge potential to increase this volume of trade. Both sides need to work on developing a strategy for bringing improvements. We are encouraged by the resolve of both governments to boost the trade, yet we believe that people to people linkages, especially the B2B relations, should be promoted. To achieve the objective, I may suggest a few measures for the expansion of trade between the two countries. The Sialkot Chamber requests consideration for reducing the business visa processing time, as the current duration of approximately 8 weeks creates practical difficulties for the Sialkot business community. Businessmen frequently travel abroad for meetings, exhibitions, and urgent trade-related engagements, making it difficult to submit their passports for such an extended period. A shorter processing time would significantly improve business mobility and help facilitate smoother and more efficient trade activities. Self-financed trade delegation from the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry is in the pipeline in coordination with High Commission of Pakistan in South Africa, expected to be undertaken after June 2026. In this regard, we would request facilitation from the High Commission of South Africa in the timely issuance of visas and support in arranging business-to-business interactions to ensure the smooth execution of this delegation. We also underscore the importance of institutional cooperation through memorandums of understanding between the Sialkot Chamber and prominent trade bodies of the partner countries. Such MOUs would enable regular exchange of trade information, market intelligence, and business opportunities, while also strengthening B2B linkages and improving mutual understanding of regulatory and compliance frameworks, therefore promoting sustainable commercial cooperation between both sides. I'm sure that moving forward, the Sialkot Chamber and the esteemed High Commission would have a mutually beneficial long-term relationship. I may mention that Sialkot has developed a dynamic small and medium enterprises in the industrial setup, which is highly conducive to joint ventures and collaborative partnerships. Our exporters possess a deep understanding of international standards and compliance requirements, contributing to an annual export from Sialkot is $2.63 billion. From precision surgical instruments used in operating rooms around the world to high quality sports goods, including footballs used in FIFA World Cup and other global events, Sialkot has established itself as a symbol of excellence and reliability in international markets. The city's industrial landscape also includes textiles, leather products, protective gear, and specialized apparel, catering to diverse global demands. Beyond industrial achievements, the business community of Sialkot has demonstrated an exceptional commitment to corporate social responsibility. Landmark initiatives like the Sialkot International Airport, Sialkot Dry Port Trust, Sialkot Export Processing Zone, Sialkot Business and Commerce Center, Air Sial, and Sialkot Medical City stand as testaments to our collective vision for sustainable economic and social development. I may sum up by thanking His Excellency Mr. Pierre Jordan for visiting this chamber. I hope that today's meeting will result in promoting better understanding and cooperation between the South African High Commission in Pakistan and the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and pave the way for enhancing trade, economic ties, and cooperation in all fields of mutual interest. Thank you very much.
this one up, down?
Yeah, this is.
Oh, there it goes. Okay. Mr. Itasham, President of the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce, and your members of the executive, and all your other members that are here. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to be in your midst, in this beautiful building that you have, this beautiful facility, the beautiful video that you have shown us today, and which actually demonstrates the excellence that you find in this city of yours, of which I've heard many times, not only about Islamabad, Karachi and Lahore, but I've fairly quickly heard about Sialkot, and that there's a need to come here and to come and experience this chamber. Now, unfortunately, my visit is a bit short, much shorter than what I wanted it to be, like I explained earlier. So maybe there's a next time that will come longer and that we'll see more and explore more and exchange more. But thank you very much for this opportunity, because it's serious. It's honestly an honor for me to be here, because I can see you are in serious business and doing serious things with so many brands that we take for granted out there and that we think come from other places, but that the craftsmanship and the hard work is actually done in your city. And that is so beautiful and something that you should treasure, I think, because the expertise that you have is something that many of us wish to have, and that is necessary to start an economy, like maybe the Chinese have done to become the factory of the world, and look where they are now. Or the ones that maybe before them, the Japanese, the South Koreans, next door, everywhere. But this is what is needed. This is what is needed in my country so much as well, because we have been blessed with a lot of mineral resources. We're blessed with a youthful labor force, a beautiful continent that we live on. But sometimes we need to learn from others how to put your mind to work, or put your ideas into creating something what the world needs out there, and to sell it, to be able to sell it, and to make yourself a living from that. And so that is something beautiful, I think, Mr. President, that you can at least hear from me to applaud you on that, because I think that is something that literally the world can learn from. So thank you for the opportunity, first of all, and my presentation will be fairly brief. You will see I have a few things that I have there projected on the screen that will be sort of self-explanatory. And so let me start at the beginning, just to give you a bit of a feeling. If you look at those pictures, I think the things that would be familiar to you could be some of those faces there on the left-hand side. Hashim Amla, Jacques Carlos, whoever you see there, some of the people that have made use of the balls, cricket balls that were manufactured maybe by your people here, that they have, got their fame from, and all the other things that you see. But if you look at that slide, you will just see the diversity, hopefully, of what South Africa is about. A lot of diversity, from penguins on our beaches, penguins that you would think belongs to Antarctica, that are sometimes caught by leopards coming from the mountains, to the pristine beaches, wide open spaces. We have fantastic golf courses, industries, Mandela, all the things that you know South Africa from, and I think the cricket is probably the most common one that we share with Pakistan. But that is just to give you a bit of a intro or an idea of what South Africa is about, as you know. The history, just very shortly, between the two of us, we enjoy very cordial, good diplomatic relations since 1994, spanning many areas of bilateral cooperation. But I think the common thing between us is that we both suffered from colonialism in the past, and Pakistan has always been a very strong supporter of South Africa during our struggle to change our part of the world for the better. And also, I think our president, as you may know, came to Pakistan twice. He didn't just visit the neighbor, he wanted to come to Pakistan as well, and he came here twice, 1992 and 1999, on a state visit. and he addressed the joint session of your parliament. And of course, we both nations enjoy cricket, as I say. So I think that is something just to refer to the history of the strong bond between us. That is the next slide is some figures from last year. Globally, our GDP in total is approximately, I won't read everything, of course, US dollars 426 billion US dollars annual GDP. Economic growth is estimated to be around 1.6. I think it was lowered since the Gulf War, or not the Gulf War, the Middle Eastern War, rather. Our total exports is that figure, total imports, these are total figures, inflation, the currency, $1, is 16.5 rands, and 1 rand is approximately 16.9 rupees. So we're somewhere there in the middle. Population, we have 63 million people. You are a country of so much more people. You can imagine how small we are dwarfed actually by Pakistan, but I think there's a lot that we can do together and complement each other's economies. I won't repeat all the rest. 3 international airports. We've spoken about the seaports we have before. Repo rate. Just that last bullet there, our credit rating has recently been upgraded. We have had some challenges recently with some years of corruption in our government and so forth, and we suffered from being taken to the grey list, financial grey list and things like that, which we have meanwhile corrected. And I have to highlight that. So we're off the grey list. The Standard & Poor's and Fitch's of the world, the great credit rating agencies, have increased our rating to, I think, currently BB+, a more positive outlook compared to what it used to be. And 2 budget surpluses we had recently, some high precious metal prices that made some major differences to our revenue, etc. Let me not go into too much detail there. That slide is an indication of our 9 provinces. Those 2 white dots that you see, is the bottom one is Lesotho and the other one is Swaziland. So it's 2 neighboring countries that lies actually nearly surrounded by us, but they are functioning as sovereign states. But it indicates, hopefully, because on your left-hand side there's Namibia, then it's Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, etc. We border a lot of continents in Africa, and we are cooperating with them. The rest are provinces. Those colors are provinces, and it indicates each province's specific industry sectors in which they are strong. So I won't read them, but you can look for yourself there which of the provinces highlights which industries that is prominent sector in that part of the country. But we are an integrated region with the rest of our neighbors. You will see that. And fortunately, we are not in conflict with our neighbors. We rather have a cooperative kind of environment where we stimulate each other's economy, because what's good for us is also good for them. If their economies are growing, their people remain there and don't all come to South Africa. And, even though, so we don't want to be an island of prosperity in a sea of poverty. We want to be an integrated region and also integrated with the rest of the continent. The next one there, an overview of opportunities. It's also just some key sectors that you can look for yourself there. Some top export sectors. Some of that maybe is some of the ones we've referred to already in our discussions earlier. Some of the top import sectors where we import or predominantly. But as you know, it's always a bit of a mixed bag of sectors and so forth. This slide is probably more important because it's a bit of a summary. Our bilateral trade with Pakistan. Now, I already said South Africa is your country's biggest trading partner on the continent, and approximately a quarter of your total trade with Africa is with us. And then, so we are, and we would like to be seen as a bit of a gateway to the rest of the continent. I'll speak about that a bit more later. South Africa's exports, to Pakistan is almost 10% of our exports to Asia, which still does say there's still much more that can be done. Total volume of trade, I've already said 647. That's that figure I referred to earlier. Trade difference in our favor, 334. Those are you can see there, the import figure, the export figure, and those are US dollars, and so it's millions. In our various currencies, it of course would look different if you convert them. There are some of the top trading products. So imports, you'll see what Pakistan exports to us on the right-hand side there at the bottom, closer to your flag: textiles, minerals, vegetables, rawhides, toys, sports equipment, that many of which may come from here, plastics, rubber, etc. On the right-hand side, minerals, vehicles, aircraft, vessels, machinery, chemicals, and so forth. And I think challenges to us that I've also referred to earlier, we need to add more value to what we export to anyone on the planet, including to you. So that could be seen also by an opportunity to some of you to invest in our part of the world and to trade not only within our Africa, our continent, to use that trade agreement with that free trade area, but also to trade with other parts of the world. And like I already said, maybe the trade balance that you are experiencing, that's in our favor. That you could regard as a challenge. There's some of that's a more detailed breakdown of, well, the year remains 25, last year's figures, the value of the sector, but you can look at the sector, that is South African exports to Pakistan. So you were asking earlier, yes. So if you want to have a look in detail, we will leave this slide here, Kesar, my trade officer who is here, so we can let you have all of these figures. Nothing secret about this. Imports from your side to us, there you have it. That's what we import from Pakistan. And you can see, I see the toys there, 6.76 million in last year. So probably a lot coming from Sialkot. There you can, footwear, garments, you can see for yourself many other things and I see you are really experts in some of those clothing, equipment, in different sectors. Sectors with further export growth potential into Pakistan, that, those who are importing from South Africa, that you can look at further export growth potential. Agriculture, like I say, maybe when you have these beautiful mangoes that you have at the moment, we don't have mangoes. It's winter down there. It's cold now in South Africa. So and I think we're fairly close to a protocol there in terms of the mangoes, that we will be receiving you, because there were some phytosanitary conditions that we were requiring. And I think shortly we'll have mangoes, your mangoes, the best on the planet, I think. We will have them in South Africa, but also you can export in your winter. You can export from our part of the world, also very fantastic, beautiful mangoes. The rest will speak for itself. I'm not going to repeat everything there. Some sectors that you can look at. But as I say there at the bottom, import from non-traditional markets such as us offers you world-class, good quality products at reasonable prices. And I think that's what I mean with value for money. I think that goes both ways, that we offer each other value for money. And I think that aspect cannot be overemphasized. This slide just gives you a sense of, if you come to us, you will not find yourself isolated there, because we have these protocols in place with other parts of the world. The Customs Union, the first one there, SACU, it's the oldest, from what I understand, the oldest custom union on the planet, apparently, even before some in Europe like Benelux and so forth. Ours was older than that, because Lesotho and Swaziland and Botswana and Namibia benefit from anything we import through our tariff structure that is shared. So it's actually like a development assistance program we are having, which they benefit from. So we are sharing and not only living as an island there. And that can also explain to you some of the other problems we may have, because many people would like to come to South Africa and live there, but they have to comply with the rules. And I think that's part of some of the challenges we are sometimes experiencing. Therefore, the other one, SADC, is the larger one that runs up to Congo and higher up on the continent. That's also part of our trade bloc. So we have in Africa, just to explain that to you, we have these regional trade blocks, SADC, and then the East African ones, the West African ones, Central African ones, and North African ones. And they fit like a puzzle into the continent of Africa, where certain requirements, compliance issues need to be met before we can trade with each other duty free. And I think that is what we are working for, but we've signed that agreement already as a continent. In other words, if you have access to South Africa, you will have access to the rest of Africa through that continental free trade area, which is really something beneficial. And as I said, some people say that's the next growth point in the world. So if you have these policies that you nicely highlighted, like Look East, Look Africa, then maybe if you are there and have a presence there with some of the investments that I would like to learn more about, my friend here that said you are about to invest in South Africa, the ones who come in first will benefit more than the ones who come in last. So if that is the next growth point of the world, then maybe you do need to have a presence there. The continent is growing. It's a market of 1.5 billion people. It will be larger than the Chinese or individually Indian market. So it's a massive, massive market that is there up for grabs or to make use of. The other, I'm not going to repeat all of them. The EU ones, the ones with other parts of the world, Mercosur, South America, etc. But the bottom one is the one that I keep on referring to, the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. That is operational already, so to make use of. Anyway, that is just to give you a bit of a sense of our trading partners and our trade protocols. This slide, I would also say, in a way, summarize some of the key things you could consider. Not in detail, I'm just highlighting them here, so you must just believe me and come and investigate that for yourselves. But why should you consider South Africa? If you take them one by one, I'll try to be quick. It's a vibrant, emerging market. It's stable. We've got democratic institutions, a diversified economy, lucrative growth potential, not ideally in terms of our own population growth. We want to grow much faster, but anyway, the region is growing. There are some countries with even much higher growth than us. It's the most developed economy in Africa, well-developed, diversified, manufacturing-based innovation. There are technological hubs, scientific institutions. I think there I can just go to some of these, look at some of the companies that are having a presence. Now I'm going to the wrong side. Can I only go to one side? Sorry. Oh, maybe
on the top, I believe.
Oh, sorry. There, I must go back.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Some of the in the automotive sector, but I think there's another one that I'll show you now with some. I think it's lower down. Let me just say to you. Oh yeah, I had it now. No, maybe I'm confusing myself here. So let me rather return to that one. Okay. Some of the top 500 global companies. It's just a slide that shows who has a presence in South Africa. The third one there, largest presence of multinational corporations. Yeah, 180 of the Fortune Global 500 companies are present in South Africa. That was the slide I wanted to show. progressive, constitutional,
It's a
independent
great number. You have
judiciary.
180 companies there from the Fortune
Yes,
Global 500.
yes.
180s are present in
In
South
South Africa. Yeah, I'll show you the slide. A robust legal framework, free press, so you don't need investment treaties. You can just rely on the legal framework that will look after your affairs. Global connectivity networks, rail, road, sea, ICT, abundant natural resources. We are abundantly endowed with precious metals such as a platinum group of metals, gold, diamonds, iron, coal, mining expertise. There are some of these magnesium or no, yeah, oh, there are so many, but some are really sought after as part of these rare earth and mining expertise, and more than 100 mining or listed mining companies. I think our mines are the ones so far, if I'm not mistaken, that goes down deepest on the planet, over 3 kilometers that we go down. Western Deep Mines, 3,000 meters deep. Then advanced financial services, that you will see capital markets and world-class banking sector. Investment rating has been upgraded. We're off the grey listing. So many positive things that has happened there. Infrastructure development, logistics. We are hopefully an attractive gateway into the rest of the African continent. Also revitalized energy sector. In that regard, I think I don't need to tell you what is load shedding, because you have that here. We had that in South Africa a while ago. We had some challenges there, serious challenges with energy, because our population grew tremendously. Actually, from 1994 to now, only 30 years, we doubled. We increased 50% in our population, from 40 million in 94 to over 60 million now, only 30 years later. So it's a massive growth that we have experienced, which will explain some of the problems that we are also experiencing as a result of that, because people may feel the social services are not keeping up, and with the population growth. But anyway, our energy sector has recovered. We don't have load shedding. I think for the last, we've crossed 360 days of having had no load shedding. So we are hopefully over the worst. And we've solarized, and we've many other things. We've got so many new energies that we've invested in, that I think we've gotten beyond the critical aspect, regardless of the war in the Middle East, even though we all suffer from that, the prices of petroleum. Also, infrastructure-wise, our railway sector, I don't mention it there, but has recently been privatized. So we have had many problems in our railway sector, but now that is privatized and partially privatized, we may see some interesting developments there. We've got a young, eager workforce, and we have some experience, local partners, abundance of young talent, growing market, and the last one, excellent quality of life, excellent weather, very mild weather. We don't need. The average house in South Africa doesn't need heating in winter and doesn't need air conditioning in summer. So you open the windows, you close the windows. That's the average one. It's not to say that it's not hot or not cold, but it's not extreme. It's not extreme on either side. And tourism, it's a tourism haven, as you have heard, scenic beauty, top schools, universities, etc. This slide just indicates you in the automobile sector, which countries have a presence in South Africa. I think I'm trying to see which ones are the ones. I think that slide is just indicating. Oh no, I think that was the slide maybe that I wanted to refer to earlier. I was passing. I was looking just at the automotive. I thought it was the automotive slide only. These are the big names that we have in our country. I will refer to some automotive ones specifically later, because I thought it was that slide. But anyway, this gives you an idea of some of the major countries with a presence, manufacturing presence in South Africa. or trading. Key investment sectors in general: renewable energies, automotive, advanced manufacturing, chemicals, aerospace, etc., mining equipment. I won't repeat all of them. Now I'll refer you to some specific sectors with major investment potential. And these ones are actually broken down into a specific project with a specific value, the investment types. So I won't repeat everything that's written up there, but it even indicates the location of those provinces that you've seen at the beginning. But the sector: biofuels, energy, gas to power, hydrogen, etc. Some of your companies, one here in Lahore, Descon. Descon has got a subsidiary of Sasol that they have. They are doing some maintenance on some of our. Sasol is our South African oil industry company. One of what Descon has invested there, and they want to actually expand that investment. And I think they were held back by some regulatory requirement, but essentially there's a lot of potential, and all of these are highlighting such projects. So this is energy and hydrogen investment sector. Automotive sector. So I'm not going to repeat all of it in there. Some of your companies are exporting to South Africa batteries, etc. But in our part of the world, we have some. That's how what we want to achieve in South Africa. That Zimbabwe's got lots of lithium. So Zambia's got lots of copper. They are within driving range from us. So if we put up a plant in South Africa, we can manufacture long life batteries in South Africa if we put our efforts together, close to the source. This is the automotive sector that I confused with the other. The left-hand one is the cars that are actually manufactured in South Africa, BMW. We've got a BMW plant in close to Pretoria. We've got a Ford plant in Pretoria. We've got a Isuzu plant in Gqeberha with Port Elizabeth. We've got a Mercedes plant in East London. Nissan, they used to be in Rawson. I think they have now sold to Geely, the Chinese one. Toyota in Durban, massive plant in Durban. We produce at least 3 or 4 different models that even electric vehicles. Toyota, the Corolla Cross, the electric one is manufactured there, and the normal one. It's that one is a minibus, and there's another one or two, the Bakkie, the pickup, the Hilux. So all of that is manufactured in Durban, one plant. Volkswagen, Utenake, those are the ones that manufacture in South Africa. The rest we are trading, so they are all there, have a presence. I think on the right-hand side, Mahindra also, where is that? They also have put up a plant there, there in the middle. And I think, I'm not sure about Tata, but others. Chery has also done it. The Great Wall Motors. Also, BAIC from China has put one in. It's not indicated there necessarily. There they are at the top. They've got a plant in also at Gqeberha. Not manufacturing fully yet, but still low in production. Semi knockdown, I think. Chemical sector, there you see in the chemical sector. I'm not going to repeat everything, but you can see for yourself a sector that may be of interest to you. Energy sector, I've touched upon that. Look at the potential, look at the kind of equity or whatever is offered there. Pharmaceutical, some of you may be interested there. These are health sector companies present in South Africa. Infrastructure, waste and water management, these are projects where there's an opportunity to invest existing things in those provinces. Energy transmission investment, that's another sector. Battery chemicals investments, logistics. And as I said, we have these many ports because Indian Ocean and Atlantic. So, I've forgotten. Richards Bay is one of the first ones. Closest to you is Richards Bay, which exports bulk, like bulk coal and bulk commodities. So we've got Richards Bay, Durban, East London, Port Elizabeth, with 2 harbors, Kucha and the old one. We've got Mossel Bay, we've got Cape Town and Saldanha. So plenty of ports. Electrotechnical, oil and gas summary, oil and gas, where some of your companies are already involved, like I say. The Quadri Group is another big investor there. The packaging company also here in Lahore, a big investor there. These are some ICT sector potential for investment. You can have a look when this is sent to you. That's some of the companies with a presence. Then some investment incentives in those sectors. If you just look at those sectors, there are some that has really benefited from that. Within our automotive sector, we have been exporting cars. I can't recall which models, but I think it's the C-Class, Mercedes-Benz, and VW models that we've exported to Japan. We export to Japan. We export to Australia. We export to other countries, and I don't know why we don't export, because you are also a right-hand drive country like us. So
Mercedes-Benz or right-hand drive vehicles are manufactured in this.
you see, so more can be done. I don't know why you don't export from us or import from us, because we've got right-hand drive cars as well. So I'm nearly at the end. Just the last thought or two. In terms of our country's value proposition, unique value proposition, this is the words of our president, Ramaphosa, who said, we are, and maybe now not the most industrialized anymore, one of, because I think Morocco has overtaken us recently or last year, hopefully temporarily, the most industrialized economy in Africa, the largest industrial country, largest economy, and we've got the best financial institutions. The very key elements to make South Africa even most successful. If you consider expanding your production or commercial operations into Africa to capitalize on the enormous investment opportunities or economic opportunities that the African continental free trade area of 1.5 billion customers offers, now is probably the right time to consider that. South Africa needs to diversify more from predominantly being a primary products exporter, agriculture and mining, farm and quarry issues. We must be more adding more value like Sialkot and export more. But that could also be your opportunity into our country. And globally, these opportunities are in abundance if you look at that market and access to it. And there, I've already mentioned some of your countries that are prominent companies that have already taken that step into our economy. And then, of course, I didn't even mention the tourism sector. There's a whole presentation, Kesser, that we can also send to them on investment opportunities in the tourism sector, from safari sector to the beautiful Cape Town area that you see there in front of us. A beautiful, beautiful, many opportunities everywhere. And of course, that brings me to the end of the slide. There's some contact details, but just before I end there, I just want to highlight, I want to do two things. Sorry, if you allow me. You made some comments at the beginning. I want to just go back to that and just show you on the same presentation, we have a bit more. Okay, that's contact details, but we have more sectors, additional information about investments that I'm not going to do now, but you will see there per sector. You can read it for yourself. Green hydrogen, renewable energy, natural gas, critical minerals, battery value chain, new energy vehicles, medical devices and pharmaceuticals. Medical devices now, all the medical equipment, agro-processing, agriculture, logistics, tourism. I've spoken about that, and more contact details. So I'll stop there with that. And then lastly, I wanted to refer to some of your comments, if you don't mind, Mr. President. You refers to visas.
Yes.
And you mentioned a few other things. Let me start with the others. Maybe I should end with visas. Then my colleagues can help me on that one. But you highlighted the necessity for more B2B exchanges. And I cannot agree more that you said you may have some visitors going there. We were hoping to have some visitors shortly after your Eid period. I think there were some reasons. I think we all know of some of these peace talks and things that impacted on some of the plans of people that impact on that. But we need that. We had a delegation from our trade sector that wanted to come here. If you go there, I cannot agree with you more. That is actually what is so necessary. And all the wonderful sectors that you have here, I think there's so much complementarity and things that we can, stimulate or cross-pollinate each other's economies. And also with regards to your airport and the connectivity that you have here, that maybe some of these business executives could fly here directly, or do business with you directly, or send their commodities here directly, whatever is needed. In terms of, you made a lot of other good comments as well, but I'll just end on the visa issue, which is of course important to all of you. And there I can also say something that you've said. Compliance is usually the best thing to do because it helps to make the process run smoother. Now, I know it sometimes takes long. You were talking about 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
I think if we are lucky, sometimes it can happen within 10 working days, but then we're lucky. We wouldn't advise that. We would advise that you apply earlier. But just to explain shortly, our visa section in the embassy functions like an independent unit directly with our Home Affairs Department in Pretoria, following their own policies, following their own rules. They hardly allow us to interfere there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think you find that with many countries.
Right.
All these countries, they are very strict in terms of visas. Maybe you're also strict because we are currently waiting for a number of our own embassy colleagues that we don't get the visas. Our own officials, we're also waiting. So I'm not trying to justify it. I think and I'm hoping we all can do better on that. Yeah. But that we can differentiate between what is someone who seeks just to become an economic migrant, or someone who's a serious business person who wants to do business, who's got a lot of benefit to both sides. And benefit should be win-win. And because if it's lose-lose, no one wins. Or one lose and one win, it's also not good. We need to win, both of us. And so all I can say is communication, compliance. Let's try to work together as good as possible. And we'll try to comply to your regulations and vice versa. Maybe some of my colleagues can also comment on this, but I said one thing earlier, and I don't want to go into this topic. You're welcome if you want to ask any questions, but there has been recently some negative public media reports on some of the xenophobic things we experience in our country. I don't want to go into the topic deeply at all, but because we want to be an open economy where we have very good legal framework, human rights that apply, etc., and we want to do business with everyone. We're not fighting with anybody around us. We are in good relations. We are in a cooperative kind of environment. But I have to highlight what I said earlier. One of our challenges is the fact that our economy has literally grown from 40 million in 94, when Mandela took over, 40 million to 60 million. That's 20 million. That's 50% growth. Now, which country on earth can handle so much growth in 30 years? Education facilities, job opportunities, health, you can go on. So many, the infrastructure, housing, whatever. So that is sometimes why the people, not the government, maybe the government has got a role or must take some blame for not regulating this enough with maybe the compliance issues. But now the people want to take a law into their own hands, and that is not good. And that is sometimes what is being experienced. But I leave it there. I just wanted to explain to you that there's better understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, His Excellency. Now we may open the house and we'll have
Please.
question answers. Asad Sab, he is into the chemicals business. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. May I request our Senior Vice President to have the closing remarks and then we'll proceed.
Thank you, President. Thank you, His Excellency. It's a pleasure to having you here in Sialkot Chamber. I believe we've been here as an office bearer from last 7-8 months, and a lot of ambassador came here, but I think you're the one who's really prepared, have all your numbers and explain about the business and everything. Your presentation was fantastic. And I also have numbers with me because we just have to talk about Sialkot industry. So right now, let me put my glasses because couldn't see the numbers. I'm sorry. Yeah. So my numbers and your number match on bilateral trade. Yeah, that's $647 million. But from the Sialkot, what we are manufacturing and exporting to your country, these are 6-7 categories, just $14 million worth of product we are exporting. And the same products you are importing from the rest of the world is $1.84 billion. I do understand there are a lot of brands involved. You're buying from other countries like from Adidas, from Nike, obviously not coming straight from the Pakistan, but still I think there's a huge gap. I mean, I believe like you mentioned earlier in the office, if you buy directly from Sialkot, what we are manufacturing, and you have the idea, I know your trip is short. Otherwise, we should take you some to the factories and sports or surgical factories to see what we are actually making, not just on the video. So I think there's a gap we can cover up. There's a huge gap, 14 million to 1.84 billion, minus the brand. Still, there may be $60-70 million worth of products we can, increase. So I think that's the number. And if we have any kind of mechanism between the embassy or the Sialkot Chamber of Commerce, like we can engage some trade delegations, or sometime my vice president always says some virtual meetings with your B2B meetings with your business community to our business community, that would help to increase the number in this part. And obviously you're going to save a lot of money as well, what you importing the same products from Europe or the first world country, and you're going to get the same quality and better pricing from buying directly from Sialkot. So I have this number for you. I don't know if I can give it to your trade. Yeah, yes. So that's all about it. I believe all the issues already address everybody. So after that, we're going to have a lunch. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just to comment on this quickly, because I think this is really very valuable, and thank you very much for that. I want to say that maybe as my last message to you, that I think what we have seen and talking to you, this is really interesting and engaging, what B2B should be, even though we're not the business people ourselves, but I can see the gap. And I think that's the work that we need to do. And but correct me if I'm wrong, one of the problems is I see an Adidas product there that you are manufacturing, but I can't buy that Adidas product. Can I? I don't think I can. There may be rules that it goes to Germany or whatever. So
That's what I mentioned. There is a part of the brands what South Africa is obviously buying from the rest of the world.
Yes.
So, but the still is gap is 14 million and 1.84 billion dollar.
Yes.
So obviously I can give percentage like a $1 billion for the brands, but still I think it's more than 70-80 million dollar, which we
Absolutely
buy direct from Sialkot.
Yeah.
With our brand names or your
Oh,
brand.
Exactly. And that's actually the message I want to leave, in agreement with you, that anything that any of you, as I invite you, basically a question about a specific sector that you wish to promote, there's my trade officer, Mr. Kesser, Abbas, please send him, and he can share his details, or send to me, I'll send to him, whatever. We will share with you our presentation. We can send you more stuff that we have on other sectors, also very elaborative on specific sectors, like I mentioned, the tourism, but there are others as well. But he will follow up on those questions that you have. But I think we can do better. We, as two trade countries, we are a small embassy, but I'd like to take up this challenge with you that we're better on this. So you are invited to bring your questions, and we will give you ours, and we'll try to close this gap. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Very much.